Until the next 20th of December, 2025, we are in the fourth year and on day 300 since the start of the full-scale invasion. Welcome to the Daily Situation Report. Today's report highlights the major expansion of the drone war using fiber-connected systems and reinforced Ukrainian defensive lines in Donetsk and Liman. New Russian territorial gains around Siversk. There is still unrealistic Russian victory rhetoric, along with targeted Ukrainian strikes on Russian air, naval strategies, and steel forces in Crimea. This includes renewed hits on the Belbek base, and of course, much more. But first, let's take a look at the current fundraising campaign. We're collecting again for damaged transport vehicles, as we've done before. Each typically saves around 100 lives, and this amazing community here has already brought together more than a dozen in past campaigns. We've reached the halfway point of our fundraising campaign and the target amount. About 10,000 euros have been received via PayPal through the bank account Ukrainaid. Keep it up. I think if you continue to participate, you'll not only give a wonderful Christmas present to several hundred people, but of course, you'll also save their lives. Because most people don't die directly from a Russian attack, but from bleeding out on the spot. Every help arrived too late before. Now all aid goes straight to Ukraine. Berlin. The organization is nonprofit, so your donation is tax deductible. You can find all information and bank details at the top of the video description. Over Lyman, Ukraine, we see many nets flying around. These are not some kind of drone interception nets meant to protect the population, but rather the countless fiber optic cables from Russian and Ukrainian drones that are simply left behind after they fly over. Drones that are controlled via fiber optics are very advantageous for both sides because they allow you to bypass the enemy's electronic countermeasures. The reason for this is that to intercept drones, attempts are made to disrupt, interrupt, or isolate the radio signal. But that's not possible here because there's no radio signal, since the control is done directly through the fiber optic cable. And almost 2 years ago, we used to see 1 or 2 drones per week, whereas now, in some sections of the front, there's almost nothing else to see. There are some new drone shots of Ukrainian defensive positions in the western part of Donetsk. Just as a reminder, this is only the first line of defense, which is defended exclusively by drones. Russian vehicles are supposed to be stopped and destroyed right here. The same goes for the infantry, but primarily a kind of vehicle barrier has been set up here. After that come the trenches, which you can't see from here because they're several kilometers away. They're meant to stop infantrymen who make it across here. The Ukrainians have really invested a lot of time and resources into this defense, so of course they won't give it up. The Ukrainian Minister of Defense stated that the expansion of fortifications along all sections of the front is continuing to progress. According to him, 2,000 have been built so far. Additionally, around 3,000 kilometers of anti-tank ditches, about 1,000 kilometers of concrete obstacles, 16,000 kilometers of barbed wire, and 4,300 kilometers of low-profile barriers have been constructed. And it is precisely this area that the Russians are now demanding unconditionally from the Ukrainians, so that the Russian side might consider whether they want to agree to a ceasefire. And a ceasefire, my dear viewers, does not mean a peace treaty. Our favorite propagandist Soloworth also claims Russia has already fully occupied all of Donbass. He simultaneously calls for Ukrainian cities to be destroyed with heavy bombardments. These statements are, of course, contradictory, once again lack any military logic. If the Donbass were actually under Russian control, there would be no operational reason to destroy the cities there. Such demands only make sense if areas are not controlled and the enemy continues to resist. The rhetoric once again indirectly disproves its own claims. But of course, I didn't want to withhold from you this out-of-touch glimpse into Russian state propaganda. The biggest territorial changes of the day are in the area around Siversk. After taking control of the city, the Russians are now targeting its flanks. First Filia Serebryanka, now Trunkivka is about to follow. That's the village up here, and there are already the first geolocations there. Here we can see this bridge that runs through here. That's the same one as in the image shown, attacked by Russian units, which means they made it at least as far as the bridge. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe for free. I invest 4 hours a day to create a short, concise situation report without any ads for products in the report and without beating around the bush for 2 hours. That's actually bad for the algorithm because it penalizes a short format video like this one. But in return, I can give you a compact summary of the most important events without wasting your time and always up to date. And to counteract that a bit, you can support me with a free subscription if you like. Thank you very much for that. Ukrainian Special Operations Forces report a hit on another Russian warship. According to this, it should be the patrol ship of Project 2260, which has the capability to launch guided missiles. It was reportedly located near the recently hit offshore park. However, it is unclear how badly the ship was damaged, only that it was hit. They also report another drone attack on the Brigade Air Base in Crimea. According to the SPU-2SU, 27 fighter jets were hit. An aircraft was destroyed on the runway while ready for takeoff with a full load of weapons. No further details were given about the condition of the second aircraft. Belbek is one of the most important Russian Air Force bases in Crimea and also plays a central role in interception missions and airspace surveillance, and of course as well. Such a hit on a combat-ready and launch-ready aircraft therefore has a direct impact on the operational readiness of the Russian Air Forces and underscores their ongoing vulnerability, even at a fairly secure base. And this is also the second attack within a week. We can take a look at that. That's because if we look at the map and move toward Crimea, this airfield is located here. This is Belbek Airfield. It was hit for the second time within a week, again with aircraft that were stationed at the base. Let's take another look here for orientation. Sevastopol. A large part of the Black Sea Fleet has left Sevastopol and then moved here towards Novorossiysk and here to Tuapse. Novorossiysk recently gained attention because of the submarine strike. So you see, they're trying to move further and further towards the Russian heartland, outside of Ukrainian range, but by now even these places are becoming unsafe. We have the same situation with airfields here and see all these blue pins. Here's a quick story. We've been on the situation map for a year. With that, Russian military bases or also listening stations and radar stations were marked on the situation map, which the Ukrainians attacked during a larger Storm Shadow strike. And interestingly, this airfield was also part of it. Brigadier General Andriy Beleshky backed removing underperforming officers from the 125th Brigade to transfer them to the infantry. He believes leaders should face the consequences of their poor decisions to fully internalize responsibility. Honestly, you know yourself how it is. I think everyone has gotten upset at work at some point about the managers and their seemingly arbitrary decisions, which have a big impact on the work environment or on individual people, especially about those who may have never actually done real work themselves and basically just slipped into these positions through various schools and trainings. That's pretty much how it is here too, except that an officer's decisions are often tied to the lives of his subordinates. And whoever doesn't value the lives and abilities of his subordinates, or simply can't operate on a logical, tactical level and makes wrong decisions, should also have to bear or witness the consequences. There have been months of complaints about unprepared troops, poor leadership, and lacking assets. Missing soldiers can also refer to deserters in this context. The new brigade commander then initiated internal reforms, practically reviewed officers, and transferred those who did not meet the requirements. He himself considers this approach a necessary step towards a more combat-ready and responsible army, in which formal ranks alone are no longer protected from operational responsibility, and so-called paper generals are replaced by reliable leaders. Before anyone assumes this can already happen just because they're at war and new recruits aren't being trained fast enough, remember you only learn to lead by actually leading. Let me say this to those people. I was a soldier, remain active in the reserves, and know our troops well. And if I can find out from here, from home, where a sack of rice falls over in Ukraine, then you can imagine that I naturally know a lot about my comrades in my usual work environment as well. And the big problem is that we also have such officers, I know some, who during the draft, when asked, "Why do you want to become an officer?" answered that they only want to do it because their father recommended it to them, because it brings more pay than the other career paths. Today, Ms. Oberleutnant is responsible for her subordinates. I know many people who have no tactical skill and no foresight, and who also can't see how their decisions will affect their subordinates. And those are officers who really make me worry and who give me chills down my spine at the thought of having to serve under their command. And on the other hand, I also know absolutely capable and underrated enlisted men and non-commissioned officers who can't get away from their posts because the Bundeswehr doesn't want that. So what am I trying to say with that? Whether it's in an army that's currently at war and continues to evolve during the war, or in a volunteer army during peacetime, there are always people like that. The only question is how you deal with them. Special thanks to Algo Crew channel members, subscribers, and especially Lieutenant Colonel Renica, Robert Zilla, and Diltrich. And with that, thank you for listening. Feel free to subscribe, like, comment, and see you in the next situation report.